To order,
I'm just gonna
please.
have you on sound, okay? No camera?
Greetings, hello. Shall we go around the table? Mr. Sawyer? Oh, Mr. Sawyer, thank you, Dave. Jason? Hello, Jason. Miss Regan? Hello? Jackie? Jerry? Jay?
Jay's not gonna make it.
All right. Kate's here, Terry is here, Scott's here. Ed? Mr. Furtado?
Mark coming?
Yes.
Mark said he was, yeah.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
He'll be right in.
Mr. Geddes is here, Mr. Withers, Jeremy Guay?
No.
No.
Funeral, I thought.
Andrew Costa?
Haven't seen Andrew yet.
Gail.
And Gail said she wasn't gonna be.
Okay. Jack's here, and I'm here.
There's Mark.
All right, very good.
Quorum?
Yep, we are good to go. So,
Yeah, 11,
all right,
12.
so is this all the business we have to do?
Well, yeah, I think the first thing we should approve the minutes
Oh,
from
which I
May
don't,
17th.
okay. All right, that's it, we don't have a copy of the minutes first. All right, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 17, 2023.
So moved, second?
Jackie, any comments, discussions, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. All right, friends, on to page 2. Update, construction update, please.
Ally's.
Starting with the fields, starting over here with the baseball, soccer field. You can see we set
Ally, could you keep your voice up so us old people can hear you?
yeah, sorry. We set the dugouts at the baseball and the softball fields. For the irrigation system, you can see that the laterals are being placed. You can kind of see the infield starting to take shape here. We're setting fencing throughout, so that's what this like concrete strip is. As far as this south lot, we've advanced with the sidewalks, the placements going into the tennis courts. For the tennis courts, we are starting to set the post for the nets, as well as all the fencing around the courts. On these upper fields, you can see some of the infield material is on site. We will be working our way out of the site towards the trailer, so that's why we have some material up here. The basketball courts, the backstops were put in this week. For the L building, ductwork was ongoing this week, so we should be pretty much wrapped up there in the next 2 weeks. Jumping into the bus loop, we started ripping up the asphalt so we can start laying the concrete in the next 2 weeks. And we're also pouring some more sidewalks in this area up towards Rathburn Willard.
Can I just ask a question? The bus loop, is that always going to be concrete and the asphalt was temporary, or was that a change? Always
It
concrete?
was always concrete, yes.
Thank you.
All right, jumping into the playground, so we are all prepped and ready for AstroTurf to be installed, and then fencing will go up after that. As you can see, we have nice pretty lawns. We're just waiting on final acceptance for these lawns, and then we'll turn them over to facilities. At the Rotary, the interior part of the Rotary is done. We are just waiting on some direction for some lighting, so we can continue work there. Right. And then in the building, we just have a few remaining punch list items, about 28 items, still related to security mostly. So we're trying to wrap those up as quickly as possible, so we're completely out of the building. Any questions?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is, what's the status of the PV over the student parking lot?
So it's not live yet. We are still waiting for the interconnection agreement with Ngrid. We reached out to our subcontract, Griffin, and asked them if they wanted the city to get involved, and they said they wanted one more chance to get them to respond, and then they would let us know. So waiting for that, and then if we need your help, Mayor, we'll let you know. But yeah, we're pushing them to get that going, because it's ready to flip the switch, so.
Yeah, sooner would be better than later, for sure, at this point.
Yeah,
We've been waiting.
we'd like to have the
Yeah.
benefit of the electricity, right?
Yes,
Exactly.
yes, yes.
Yep.
What about the fencing around the maintenance addition?
So we are still working through the pricing approval process of the fencing. Our subcontractor was having issues getting the 2x6 cedar rails, so they had originally priced 2x4 cedar rails. And there's a concern that over time, the fencing will sag with the smaller size supports. So we went back to our subcontractor one last time to see if they could find the 2x6 rails and update their pricing. So once we hear back on that, we should be able to get some movement and get moving forward with that and release that material. But we're, as you can see, we've paved, we put the binder down, we've done basically all the work except for the fencing at this point. So,
Is it the same fencing that's,
yes, it's the same cedar fencing. It will be like a shadow box. So it kind of has paneling on either side, and they alternate, so you can kind of see through, and it allows airflow through the
does
fencing.
that have on it for rails?
That is 2x6 rails. Yeah. So the specified, size is 2x6, which is what we would prefer. But they said they were having a hard time sourcing the 2x6 cedar when they had requested to use the 2x4. Which we were hoping we could use, but we just don't want it to be a long-term issue for maintenance.
Ally, if you can rotate a little bit from that, we're going to talk about the potential changes to make it a little more handicap accessible there. Do you want to cover what the proposal is there?
I can, so those first 3 spots that are closest to the building, where the EV parking signs are, so those first 3 spots will be converted to handicap parking, to 2 handicap spots. And what we need to do is we need to rip out that concrete sidewalk and regrade, lower the granite curbing so that it's flush with the pavement, and then slope the sidewalks down on either side to allow for the handicap access from the parking lot. There's some additional granite curb that needs to be installed on the back side of the sidewalk to hold back the lawn area. And then we're gonna relocate those 5 signs to the right, to the 5 spaces to the right. And then we need to add handicap signs and bollards. So similar to the bollards that are along the playground there, those need to get installed at the 2 handicap spots over there. And then we'll remove, I think we're removing 3 handicap spots from that area. So the bollards will stay since they're cast into the concrete, but the signs themselves will be removed. So they will be returned to regular parking, not handicap parking.
And a
So
curb
this
cut,
will-
Corey, at the sidewalk too?
Say that again?
Curb cut at the sidewalk too?
No, the curb cut will remain at the playground.
No, I mean, the sidewalk that's coming out of the building, I thought right there was
Yeah, I
gonna be a
thought there was
curb cut.
supposed to be a curb cut there from the parking area.
Just where the 3,
No, also at the side too, they asked for
Yeah,
one at the side
go,
too.
take your cursor down a little, yeah,
Right
somewhere
there.
along there.
that's not what the sketch shows, and that's
I'll ask
not.
Eric, because it's more money than we have to consider that. My recollection was that there was also a request to have a curb cut at that location too, am I
There was, we discussed it, but then I thought we had talked about that it's inviting for cars to drive up there, and there's a concern.
Yeah, that was part of the discussion, is the concern is the curb provides a buffer, so then if you do a curb cut, basically allows cars to drive straight up to the building, which would not be ideal.
So did we decide not to do it? The price doesn't include that curb cut, right, Corey?
It does not.
It does not. So if we did that, it would be an additional charge.
Well, I can understand the security issues. We don't want the cars free access to the building. Any thoughts on that, Mayor?
Yeah, no, I'm just lamenting the cost at this late, but I'll get over it. But I do have a question. The bollards, are those standard protocol now with handicap spots, or are they because they're in front of the playground?
It's, I mean, Craig, you can answer. I believe it's because it's flush curb there, so again, it's to prevent cars from being able to drive up onto the sidewalk. Because there's no curb that you have to jump, so it's, because it's flush with the
Oh, I see.
pavement, it's
Okay.
preventing cars from
Okay, good,
driving.
all right.
Paving the curb
Thank you
like
for that.
There's that, and then they're placed right up to the parking stall, so if you just put a steel pole, or a steel post, every time people hit it, it'll just bend over.
Okay,
It's more secure.
thank you for that.
And then we also had a discussion this morning about the people potentially driving from Capron Park into the site. So do you want to just give everybody a preview of that?
So Ally, if you just scroll out a little bit to show the entrance. So coming in off the parking lot, there's a rollover concrete curb right here to allow authorized vehicles only to drive up onto that concrete sidewalk. There'll be signage on either side of that entrance that say authorized vehicles only. But it's concrete all the way to here, which allows you access to these three tennis courts. And then after, from here, all the way to Capron is a stone dust material walkway. There's an existing chain gate. It's just two posts and an old chain that kind of separates, that you can, move in order to allow access. Currently, that was all that was scheduled to remain, but we've been talking about potentially adding a chain here or a swing gate to better control access onto that road. I think we kind of landed on a chain today would be the simplest solution and least expensive.
It's a for those that don't know, it's a pre-existing access to Capron Park for emergency vehicles, and so that was an access they asked us to maintain when we were designing the school.
But to discourage non-emergency vehicles from
Right.
using it.
Correct.
Okay. And then finally, are we on track for all of the paving that we detailed for the rest of this summer and all of the rest of the activities, the striping and everything to be ready?
Yes, so we,
Strange to say this when school ended last week.
Yeah.
But will we be ready for school to open in the fall?
yes, so we met with Mike Tyler and his team. We have the road closure permits in place in order to start all the road work along Rathburn Willard. So after the 4th, we will start the milling activities, mill down the existing pavement, do some regrading, and then start the binder and finish pavement. And as we're doing Rathburn Willard, we'll also start the final paving of each of this parking lots. And we'll coordinate that with the school and their summer activities, starting with Lot A, then to the middle lot, Lot B, and then Lot C would be the last lot. So
I know we've covered this before, but again, just for the dozens of people who watch our meetings, when is it likely that the athletic department will be able to use those grass fields?
So most likely it will be around this time next year. Those fields will be fully established and be turned over to the school for full use. So similar to the lawn areas that we planted in the fall and fall of last year that are getting accepted now, the same kind of process will happen. It takes, good 8 to 12 months to
The
fully
fields are done with
establish.
sod, so that you don't have to wait a year for establishment.
Yeah.
If they were seeded, you'd have to wait 2 to 3. So we're paying for the sod, but it's to hasten the use of the fields.
Yeah, so all the areas that are field are sod, and then kind of the periphery areas are hydro seeded.
How about the paved courts, the basketball, tennis, and all that stuff? When will they be available?
So the final paving of the courts will happen kind of in conjunction with the final paving of the parking lots. So by the time school starts, they'll be final paved, but the finished court surfacing, the paint and the line striping won't happen until September. Mid to late September is what we have them scheduled for. But all the fencing, all the hardscape and the fencing, sidewalks, everything else will be, completed and turned over.
And then we went to the zoning board and got permission for the school department to sell advertising on the scoreboard. So there are some scoreboards that are going up, correct?
There are 3 scoreboards, yes, and we upsized the steel to allow for the additional advertising panels. We've located them, and we've started setting some of the foundations for the scoreboards, and they're sitting in a warehouse right now, ready to be installed.
And so Consigli is buying the first sign, right?
We get a deal, maybe. Yeah,
I just wanted to
Consigli Field.
remind Mark or the superintendent or whoever that once those are up, it will be available for however you go ahead, sell the advertising and make a few dollars to put into whatever fund it goes into.
I think we talked about last time, but the trailers are scheduled to be removed the week of July 10th. So those will get broken down and removed that week. Skanska is going to has found a home in the school to set up for the next couple months, and Consigli will be working out of the L building just to be centrally located to all the work. And then once school starts, we'll be working at a Highland lot for the fall until the lawns are fully installed and the irrigation is set up, and then the winter comes and we'll go away for a little bit, and then in the spring we'll come back, probably do some fertilizer and make sure all the lawns are growing as needed, and that should be the last of us at next spring.
I'm just thinking logistically, and because Jerry, you brought up the tennis courts, and I know that the boys play in the spring, but do the girls play in the fall? Is that gonna impact them?
I don't think so.
Spring. They're both in the spring?
Yeah.
All right, and I don't have a question.
I'll also just add, we're coming up on a full year of the building being turned over. Our original substantial completion date for the building was August 15th. So we're coming up on the end of our 1-year warranty with the school. So we're gonna schedule an 11-month walkthrough with Mark and Jason and Kate and Jeremy and KBA and Skanska and walk through the building, identify any outstanding issues or potential warranty issues, establish that list, and we'll address it as they come up prior to the students coming back.
I have a question. Because there were certain things, technology, other things that just they weren't here on the 15th of August last year. Are those also part of this 1-year warranty, even if we didn't have them in place for months?
It would be only the stuff that we identified on the substantial completion letter that as part of that. So there were some things like the TV studio, some auditorium stuff that would continue.
We have a little more time. Okay.
Yeah, and I will add that there's several pieces of equipment and other things that have much longer warranties, like the roof has a 30-year warranty, stuff like that, but they're just, in general, everything has a 1-year workmanship and installation warranty. That just is covered by Consigli, but each individual piece of equipment has manufacturer's warranties, 5, 10, 15, 20-year warranties.
Yeah, thank you.
Go on to the change log.
You all set? Thank you. Change log update.
Yeah, we have a couple new changes to discuss. Again, these are new changes. They haven't been formally submitted, and we're still kind of chasing subcontractor pricing. But just to keep everyone up to date, GCR 229 is for PR 161. It's for some changes to the smoke detectors in the science labs. So we're going to remove the smoke detectors and install heat detectors. So throughout the school year, there was a couple instances where some science experiments caused some smoke, which then set off the fire alarm and ended up dumping the building. So it's not a code requirement to have smoke detectors. It's kind of a belts and suspenders, but heat detectors are what we'll provide. So that's only if a certain level of heat is detected in the space that it will set off the fire alarm. GCR 231 is for PR 162. This is associated with some revisions to the kiln room. So it adds additional cooling AC system in there to help with the room temperatures when both kilns are running. Both kilns, they operate at over 2,000 degrees. And so when that happened, the room got pretty hot in there. So we're adding an AC unit to help with that. There's also some additional work that we're doing with the balancer and the kiln manufacturer to just help to make sure that the kilns were set up properly and there's enough airflow moving through the kilns to help dissipate some of the heat. And then lastly, GCR 232 for PR 160. This was a request that kind of came up in our expectations meeting with the school. We're going to add a water fountain at the L building, just so it's somewhat centrally located to the fields to allow athletes and students to get access to drinking water out on site. So
And that's got the bottle filler, correct?
that, is it a bottle filler? Yes, it is. Yeah. So again, these are just estimates listed here. We're still chasing down pricing. And once we do, we'll get them submitted and vetted by Skanska and KBA.
Can I ask you a question? And again, I know I'm late to the game, but for example, your change of the smoke detectors to heat sensors, what do you think the cost is going to be? And is that something that should have been considered by you? Like, I guess at what point would that decision should have been made otherwise, or is that just something that came out in use? Do you know what I mean? Like, is this something we should have thought about way further down, up the road?
I mean, I think it was something that was reviewed with the design team and the fire department early on in the design, and maybe it just wasn't expected that the teachers would be doing experiments that cause smoke to set that off. I'm not sure what those
Yeah,
conversations.
that's a fair statement. It was, when we reviewed, we went through great detail with fire department and all, and this was one of the things that came up was putting smoke detectors as knowing that they're gonna be using open flames in there
Yeah.
for experiments, so it was, I think the intentions were very good, in the original intention of it, but it was causing false alarms as the teachers were doing experiments, so this is kind of a way to mitigate the false alarms, but still provide a layer of protection that they're looking for.
Do you have any idea
So the estimated cost, I didn't read them as I went, but the estimated cost for that change is approximately $5,000.
It's peanuts, relatively speaking. It's just a question of considerations. Another question, the water fountain near the fields. That seems like a consideration that would have come further upstream earlier than now. I'm just wondering, so
Yeah,
how much is that gonna cost? I'm sure it's peanuts too, but.
So estimated cost is around $10,000. This was something that Consigli brought up just because a similar request was made when we built the Western Fields to add a water fountain there. So we had brought that up as, if you wanted one at Western Fields, I assume you probably want one at the main fields. And we try to get it as early as, possible. It's a long job, but I don't know if it was something that the athletic department didn't request during design, or I'm not sure, but.
When we were designing, we were always designing to a budget. We're at the phase now where we've been fortunate enough as far as the budget to, that we never haven't been over budget. And so as Corey mentioned, the Western Fields or the Drummond Fields were kind of a result of bid savings and cost savings that allowed the project to do that. And as part of that, there was a request to put a water fountain over there when we were doing that. And then as there was a kind of a pre-construction meeting for the athletic field on this side, the group was together, and that's when it was brought up, well, you asked for one over here. Is this something you want to explore over here? So it was kind of, well, why don't you get a price, and then we can decide if we want to do it or not.
All right, thank you.
Is there water in that building now?
Yeah, so the domestic refill for the irrigation system is in that building. So, there's really minimal piping required to get, to provide water. It's already there to the building. So it's just kind of coring the exterior wall and then purchasing the water fountain.
And the unit is one of the self-draining units that's freeze-proof, so it doesn't have to be drained and maintained during the winter.
That was great.
We're thinking of you.
I knew you were when I was
That's
looking
right.
at that in November.
It's inscribed Jason's Water Fountain.
I appreciated that.
So that was it. That's it for potential changes. If we want to go through change order 33 and approve those.
Yes, please.
Okay. So GCO 33, we have several GCRs on here, all of which have been submitted, reviewed and approved, and vetted out by Skanska and KBA. So starting with GCR 198, this is for PR 140, which made some revisions to the wireless access points throughout the building. So it increased the signal strength on a number of the access points within some of the large assembly spaces like the gym, auditorium, and cafeteria. It also adds, I'll say like 12 access points throughout the building just to help with Wi-Fi coverage. The total cost of this is $33,392.11. GCR 220 is for PR 153. This adds a card reader at door A11B, which is, don't know the new stair number, but it's the furthest west at A lot. So that would allow faculty members that have card access to be able to badge in at that door. I believe that was their request from the school department. And that total cost is $13,081.65. GCR 225 is for PR 155 for the natural turf athletic field changes. So as a result of some pre-construction meetings and discussions in the field, we made some alterations to the makeup of the base of the turf athletic fields. So instead of Marafi filter fabric and kind of a gravel mix, we're eliminating the Marafi and installing a sand fieldstone mix, which kind of self-filters the water and drains a little bit better. And that was actually a credit of $23,533.15.
Is that, did that change? Because I thought the one that got sent over today, is that the same value? Was there a revision to it?
Yeah, there's a GCR 225 R1.
R1? I thought I sent R1.
Okay, I just want to make sure I have the right number.
Yeah. There was, I didn't check the one that was sent over, that would need for the DocuSign.
Yeah,
I'd have to check the DocuSign one.
yeah, this says it's 24,000, a credit of 24,682.19. That's one that you sent over, Joe. So was there an update?
Yeah, we when we final submitted because we had changed, we went to 3 different sand products. The last one, actually, it might have been an R2, actually, because we went to 2 different sand projects.
Okay, so what was the total number, 23?
23,533 and 15 cents.
Okay, gotcha.
Joe, I can send that to you again.
Yeah, when I did my search and it only come up with the R1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the one that was sent out.
GCR 226 is for PR 139, which we were able to, we had a number of existing boulders that were discovered while doing all the excavation of the existing high school and all the new drainage lines. So we relocated those boulders along the Rathrum-Willard connector as well as in the center of the bus loop island to provide some additional landscaping, but to also help deter, kind of create a better barrier along that road to help deter cars from entering off the street along there.
Which they were.
So that work was completed on T&M. We had, KBA was on site, kind of locating and directing where to install the different boulders. And then we had to kind of fix all the lawn areas that got disturbed from that work. So the total cost of that was $27,123.86.
Can I ask a question?
Yep,
What would have happened to the boulders but for this design? They would have been hauled away?
correct.
At an equal cost? Like, was this an additional cost to move them versus get rid of them, or how did this work?
So there's a lot more cost to relocate them, drive them all the way around from our site along the road over there, and then they each need to get dug down, planted 4 to 6 inches below. And then obviously the reestablishing the lawn areas was about $10,000.
Wow. I just would have thought that would have been cheaper to keep them than to haul them away, but I'm not in the construction trade. All right, fair enough, thank you.
GCR 227 is for PR 156. This was a request of the school to make some changes to a couple of the toilet rooms to provide gender-neutral bathrooms throughout the building. So there's 5 new signs and two doors with new hardware to facilitate the new use of those bathrooms. That was $3,676.34. GCR 228 for PR 157. This is the handicap parking that we discussed previously at Early Ed. The cost for this is $50,364.26. And then lastly, GCR 230 for PR 159. This is for additional and revised exterior signage. So it includes about 50 new parking signs throughout the campus for district parking, band parking, various different needs. It includes the authorized vehicle only signs. And then it also includes 7 kind of large wayfinding signs that direct you to the gymnasium or to the auditorium or to lot A, B, C, D. So those are throughout the campus as well. The total cost for this change was $61,435.95. These 7 CRs come to a total of $165,541.02.
So these last 2 are on part of change order 33?
Yeah, so we just recently got approval of those, so we
Okay,
added them
'cause-
to the agenda. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right, because the document, the change log didn't have those listed.
Yeah,
Okay.
we just got approval from
afternoon.
KBA and Skanska on the price
Okay.
over the last 2 days.
So we need a motion to approve?
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Lori, I got a question. The stuff that's being changed out, like the smoke detectors, hardware and stuff, is the old stuff being given to the school?
Yes, we will turn that over to Jason.
Repairs and
He
stuff?
loves when we give him more stuff. But yeah, all that stuff will get turned over as attic stock. And he'll get some more stuff when our trailers go away. Lastly, we have one contingency transfer for approval. It's GCT 084. This is for some undocumented utilities that we found while we were installing the new drainage at the baseball field. It's just existing drainage that wasn't shown on the plans that needed to be removed and disposed of. The work was completed on T&M and verified by the construction team. And the total cost of this is $4,102. This is coming out of contingency, not increasing the contract value, just reduces our construction contingency value.
Jackie?
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, thank you. KBA contract amendment? Who provided that data?
Joe?
I didn't know I had a contract amendment today.
That's the one for the
This is
Simio's
the,
proposal.
This is
Connector
the,
Oh.
Yeah, yep.
The as-built plans for
Yes.
accepting the north-south connector.
Sorry, I didn't even bring the paperwork for that. I don't know what that number is. Do
I have that.
you have it?
Sure.
And this is for documenting the roadway connector between the existing Rapid Willow Drive at the Rotary and where the Rapid Willow Drive used to end at the Brennan School driveway. to submit to the city to close out both the Concom and I think it's a street acceptance plan, isn't it?
This is not for the Concom, this is for the street acceptance
Street
plan, so
acceptance
that we
plan.
can submit this to the city council so that it can be accepted as a public way. We laid it out originally, and now the second part of the process is for the as-built plan called the street acceptance plan. That will get submitted to the council, and hopefully after a public hearing, they will accept it as a public way.
Oops, sorry.
And so basically, it goes from the traffic circle all the way down, all the way down to a point past the Brennan entrance, near Studley.
So the fee for our consultant is $19,085. It's their fee plus our typical markup.
And that's already in the budgeted amount for your contract, is that correct?
Yeah, it comes out of a reimbursable expense. I think it's a general line item for reimbursable expenses. Survey was
So it
expended.
doesn't increase our cost,
No.
but we just wanted
No,
everyone
it's,
to be
it's,
aware
it was,
that.
we have a number of different sort of allowances in our contract that we use for this sort of thing, that we pull out of as we need them as they go along. And this is one of those, so. 19085.
Need to vote on that?
I don't think we need to vote on
Very
it.
good.
No.
I think that it's just an allowance, it's an FYI.
Very good. Moving on to bills and payments.
I think that's Anjanette.
Yep. So we have the summary up here, and then part of the agenda goes into a detail about each of the individual invoices. So I can go through them here. The invoice for Skanska for the month of May was $96,255, bringing us to about 87% complete for our contract. We will still be on site. We're required contractually to be on site anytime there's any work being performed, and then we have the closeout activities thereafter. So we're hanging around for a little while. It'd be at least another year and then a little bit after that. Castle Booze submitted $109,530 this month. That was for their base
Base fee.
contract work, and then there was a small $400 bill, I believe it was, for irrigation, the well consultant as well. And then the Consigli invoice, they had $1,008,638, and that was for their contract work that was performed during the month of May. If you scroll down a little bit, Ally, there was some change order work performed related to 29, 30, and 31. They billed for that, bringing their total for the contract work performed to $1,063,000.77. If we go down a little bit more, we have the testing services. We had an invoice from Briggs that was for $1,168.50. And again, that was for, they did some soil compaction tests. There was some concrete that was tested, some cylinder testing. And then the next category for the AVIT, that was for invoices received from HubTech and from, well, 3 of them from HubTech, which is related to, Craig, help me out, HubTech does the,
Kinds of stuff.
all kinds of stuff. It's all related to the AV systems. And so those have been reviewed. They were issued by PO to the city. So those total the amount of $13,300. In addition to what's shown up here, we did receive an invoice from Pro AV that we've added to the bills for this month. I'll include it in my summary for next month because it was received after the fact. And that is for $952.30. And that was reviewed, it was confirmed, all the work was performed by both Skanska, meaning Bob, and then Craig's consultant, Scott Goodrich, also confirmed that as well. So the last item is the retainage paid to a subcontractor. That was for the Northern Corporation, and that brings them down to a 0% retainage being withheld. So the amount certified for Consigli is a calculation where it looks at the work performed, it takes into account the retainage is paid, and then it withholds a percentage of the money that was billed for the work performed. So at the end of the day, their amount certified for payment will be $1,024,039.95. So the total for all of the bills, is $1,260,000, $1,260,245.75. Did I get it? I got it. All right, I don't know if anybody has any questions about the billing. I don't know how many more subs we have with retainages.
There's no more than 10, I would say. This month we'll have a few more.
Okay.
That we'll be reducing down, like Greenwood,
Yep.
and Lighthouse. But they'll have small retainages left for the L building, until that's punched out and accepted. But we'll be reducing them down to basically just the value of the L building work.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about any of the invoicing or?
And so what percentage does this get us to?
That gets us to, it's 96% with the construction and then 95% overall with the billing. Almost there.
Very good. All those in favor of paying?
Well, Jackie has to make the motion
Oh,
first.
yeah, forgive me, Jackie. Oh, yes, thank you, Jackie.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Any other comments, questions, concerns before we adjourn? Oh, Scott.
Just one. You mentioned about 28 punch list items for inside the building. Is the expectation that those are going to be complete before the start of the next school year?
Yes.
Thank you.
They want to leave. I assume the subs want to leave too, right?
Yes, and they want to be paid their retainage, but they got to finish their work.
Anything else?
When does school start again?
Teachers are on August 25th,
August 25th?
for teachers.
And we've been using, I think, August 18th is our date. We're trying to be, fully done and ready for people to return, so.
Yeah, students come back into this building on August 29th. I had to remember what our schedule was this year. It's a little different.
If there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn at 6:13.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. We meet again on July 19th at 5:30.
And just a reminder to the